Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Angel in the Afternoon. We're on, looks like 98. Yeah, 98. I'm Angel Rivera alongside Alex Knight, and this light is just way too bright. I'm sorry. I'm like this.
I was wondering why your room was looking different.
Yeah, I have a little light night, like not a night light, but it's like a little light because if I turn this off, I'm in the dark pretty much. So I think that's good now. My name is Andrew Rivera alongside Alex Knight, and we got a lot to discuss this week. And thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't, make sure you like and subscribe and all that other good stuff that really helps the show. Hang out in the chat. Whoops, sorry about that. Hang out in the chat and, let's get started. So, so as everybody knows, what we'll be talking about this week? Well, we'll be talking about the situation with Russia and Ukraine, of course, that's going to be our main story today because these Europeans are just going crazy. I mean, they want to start World War III basically over Ukraine of all places. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Canadian U.S. Pretty much trade war that's going on, or at least the tariffs, because the Canadians are really melting down about these tariffs. So I'm just kind of amazed by that. It's like, really? I mean, they're acting like all of a sudden they're tough guys and like, oh yeah, well we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. It's like you're not gonna do anything, but we'll get to that as
You
well.
remember at WrestleMania 18 when Kurt Angle was like, "If I were to win my Olympic gold medal, the way this country's figure skaters won their Olympic gold medals." You remember that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, they're acting like they're tough guys. Like they're actually gonna do something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what their intentions are. Oh, did you see those videos of them throwing out Jack Daniels and all these other American liquors? I'm like, well, why they're literally throwing him out? It's like, "Ugh, we're Canadians, we have national heritage and stuff," and I'm like, "No, you're throwing out good liquor for what? Because you don't like the Orange Man? That's pretty much what's going on here. Because he's and that's another reason why I think that the Europeans are really want to start World War III because they want to oppose the Orange Man again in the White House because they all hate him. They all hate him because he dares to want peace in Ukraine. And I'm not.
Especially that
Go
the
ahead.
guy we saw that video with the guy with the cap or something crying. That
Uh
toughness,
huh.
tough Zelensky. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
really? You're crying over that? What a
Yeah,
pussy.
Trump and Vance. I saw that last week where he was crying because Trump and Vance, treated him like the puppet that he was, and what he is. That's clearly what it was. And he's fighting for democracy. Bull fucking shit. He's fighting for democracy. Like Zelensky is the one that
What does
canceled
democracy
elections.
mean nowadays?
Yeah, he canceled elections. He banned political parties, but he's the one fighting for democracy.
We also
Amazing.
should talk about Bernie getting community noted twice, I guess.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
mean he got community noted. Um,
and we should probably go over, or if you feel like it, going over Emma Vigeland's disgusting tweet towards that volleyball player or whatever that
yeah,
was.
if we have time at the end, we'll definitely we'll touch on that. So
I just want to say one more thing. Did you
yes,
see my message in one of the groups we're in that Juan Soto's defense is already bad this year?
yeah, I mean he did a lot of that last season with the
Yeah.
Yankees. So I was like, oh okay, so he misjudged the ball and just dropped it on the ground. Okay, he did that a lot last season. So
Yeah.
all right, what is this? Yeah, I don't know what this is. So yeah, so let's get started with an update to a
Snow's here.
story
That's a rarity.
we we did 2 weeks ago. Hey Snow, how you doing, man? Um, let's get started with the story, an update kind of to a story we did a couple weeks ago about Gene Hackman and his death because
Yeah,
we
I
left
heard.
off at we left off at we weren't sure how he died or anything like that. So now the medical examiner came out with his his results. And didn't I save that? I got so many tweets. Hold on. I know I saved it. At least I think I did. Anyways, it turns out that, according to the medical examiner, at least she died first of a heart attack or some kind of rare condition or something. Hold on.
Mhm.
And he apparently died a week later. Because I didn't know this, but apparently he had Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I didn't know that
And
either.
yeah, the only way this makes sense is if he had Alzheimer's. And so so according to this, whoops, there we go. Uh, let me, oops, customize. I kind of discovered I could just do that
Yeah.
without having. So there you go. Um, Gene Hackman's death was caused by Gene Hackman cause of death was hypertensive and atherosclerosis. Butchered that, but cardiovascular disease. It's basically you had a heart attack, right? And with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor. Betsy Hackman died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The matter of death is national, chief medical examiner says. So apparently she died first, and since Gene Hackman has Alzheimer's, which I didn't know about, he died a week later because he had nobody to care for him, basically,
Mhm.
because his wife died first. So it's tragedy. It's a straight up tragedy, which is why and when you have Alzheimer's and you're 95 years old, I mean, he probably didn't know how to take care of himself at this point. So he just pretty much sat around until he died. He's found dead in the kitchen, I think it was in the ground, but just totally a tragedy. So it wasn't a conspiracy theory like I thought, like we were speculating, but it was just a normal cause of death, unfortunately. So I hope he would rest in peace. Natalie says, didn't realize she was dead for a week. Nobody dropped by. Apparently, nobody dropped by, and I don't know. I mean, his Alzheimer's probably, he didn't know what was going on, probably. So that's my guess because that's still weird, that he would.
Unless he pulls a Chris Benoit.
I mean, I hope not, but I don't. He had Alzheimer's. I don't think he even was
I know.
capable.
I shouldn't be joking about that. I know that, but just
Yeah, I don't think he was even capable of, doing that at that point in his life. But yeah, I mean, I, what is hantavirus? I mean, is this some kind of? Let me see. I'm curious.
my
Uh,
sister would probably know because she's a doctor. So
oh, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is a rare infectious disease that begins with flu-like symptoms and progresses rapidly to more severe disease. Uh,
I don't why
it,
why would um Grape say only 95? I mean 95's old. I don't know what do you mean by only 95.
um, Gene, yeah, I mean, so it can lead to life-threatening lung and heart problems. The disease is also called hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome. So basically, it's like a flu that gets worse, kind of like COVID a little bit. But I won't bring that up too much because YouTube still is kind of picky about that.
Yeah.
So that's the update. It looks like they both died of natural causes, and I assume the dog died the
Oh,
same way how he died because they both starved to death. But
okay, so Grape was being sarcastic. That makes sense.
yeah, I figured he was. That's why. So yeah, I mean, she was 65, something like that. So there's a 30-year age difference. But so that yeah.
Sarcasm tart Starcast. Oh, Natalie.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Alzheimer's is a horrible disease. I mean, hopefully we can find a cure for it one day, but it's like one of those things where it's
I
just
just thought it
tough.
was disgusting when Joe Biden said he was going to cure cancer, and then he claimed he cured cancer. Like, fuck you.
He didn't do anything. So let's see. So as everybody knows, the Biden administration, the Trump administration. Sorry, I mean we got a new president here, and I already forgot. Um, where is it? Here we go. So now since the Trump administration is pretty much dismantling the Department of Education, now we got a question on whether that's way too close. Hold on, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. I was like right there. All right, there we go. So now it's a question about whether what happens to the loans, the student loans. How is the government going to collect on these student loans? That's my phone. And how they're going to collect on it, and what's going to happen with these student loans, because that's my question too. If I have student loans, okay, you're dismantling Department of Education. They're the ones that I have to pay. So who and how I'm going to pay? Actually, honestly, if I were them, is like, oh, thank God, maybe I don't have to pay my student
Oh my
loans
god,
anymore.
education is a human right. Who's wearing a sweater saying education is a human right?
I don't know. This guy is so. He better watch out. Ex-Obama official warns
Yeah,
that
that
Trump
he's got
shot.
Obama pick behind him.
Yeah, he's a ex-Obama official
Oh
apparently.
god, we got a tough guy here.
Uh huh. All right. So even at 65, many people I know are in bad shape. Yeah, I mean 65 is not young anymore. Even though you still may have 30 years to live, but it's not easy. As President Donald Trump prepares to order the dismantling of the Department of Education, the financial arm of the agency, which makes loans directly to borrowers and manages trillions of dollars in student loan debt, faces an uncertain future, with steep staff cuts and lack of communication exasperating the uncertainty, according to interviews with more than a dozen current and former department employees. The $1.64 trillion financial portfolio. My God, 1.64 trillion. That's crazy, is managed separately from the department policy apparatus, with the latter which Trump has sought to wind down or reassign to other agencies. But Trump acknowledged Thursday that the massive loan balance was a complicating factor in his effort to shutter the agency. So yeah, people still owe $1.64 trillion in student loan debt. So it's like, okay, so what do we do? I mean, because we got to get that money, right? We can't just forgive that debt and shut down the agency. Of course not. We actually had the discussion today. Trump told the reporters in the Oval Office, suggesting that the debt could land the Treasury, Commerce, or the Small Business Administration. He said the SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, the former senator from Georgia, would really like to do it. Oh yeah, I'm sure she'd like to collect on that money. And then there's a question on whether the government would stay in business of lending money to students directly. Project 2025, okay, you got a fearmonger about Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation effort that was authored by many Trump allies through Trump himself had to distance himself throughout the campaign, suggested that a new agency could be established to extend loans going forward, run by a Senate-confirmed leader and a board of trustees. But the government would get out of the business of making loans directly, instead of reverting back to a role as a guarantor of loans underwritten by other companies. So they're going to privatize the loan system basically completely. The new agency would be funded by Congress with a goal of treating taxpayers like investors. Oh yeah, it's making into a business basically, with loans that could have better terms for certain academic disciplines or professions. Turn into a business with the American taxpayers and investors. There you go. Easy access to federal student loans and grants does not give students the incentive necessarily to make sure they're pursuing careers or degrees that would lead to careers with solid return on investment. Lindsay Burke, the director of the Heritage Foundation Center for Education Policy, author of the corresponding Project 2025 chapter, told CNN in the interview. Project 2025 vision: all loans should be moved to the Treasury Department, which would manage default and collections. How the Treasury would manage the portfolio is unclear. Roughly 40% of loans are currently delinquent. It's almost majority of them, or behind in payment, according to people familiar with the data. After 90 days, the missed payments are reported on the borrower's credit report. And after 270 days without payment, the loan goes officially into default. Experts warn that an avalanche of new defaults could be approaching as borrowers come to terms with the end of the multi-year pause on loan payments and changes to more affordable payment programs. The tidal wave of unprepared village, said one former senior education department employee who recently departed. The fallout's not even hypothetical now. Try to keep borrowers on current loans and avoid slipping off those financial cliffs. The education department employed contractors to ramp up communication and offer other payment options. The drafting and dissemination of these pre-default emails current and former education employees told CNN were done by AccuCenter, an outside company whose contract Doge had eyed canceling. So there you go. The people who would write these emails have been fired, and the more affordable repayment plans are going away, said the former employee. It's almost like the government doesn't even want to get paid. Oh no, they want to get paid. Trust me. The White House did not request a response for comment. Just that they didn't want to make it cheaper. They want all their money. Shrinking options available for borrowers. The cancellation of payment programs based off a borrower's income after months of legal challenges added uncertainty for borrowers facing weeks of strained staffing and customer service backlog in the departments. More than 33 million borrowers owed less than $40,000. Jesus. So people owed up to 200 plus thousand. Gee, that's some crazy numbers there. So 2023, the Biden administration introduced a series of affordable student loan payment plans known as SAVE that allow borrowers to cap their monthly student loans at 5% of their income instead of the previous 10%. Republican state attorneys general sued, arguing the plans were too generous and footed by non-college educated taxpayers. So as it moves to comply with the judge's order to end the SAVE plan, the Education Department removed applications for all income-driven repayment plans from its website, effectively locking out borrowers from adjusting their plans if they're unable to pay the standard rate. So yeah, basically, if your education, you have a loan through the education department, you're kind of fucked because you don't know. I assume you're gonna have to pay. You're still gonna have to pay full price for your loans plus interest, instead of you know the one few maybe good thing Biden did, which was the SAVE program. It's gone pretty much now, and you're gonna have to pay full price for those loans. That's part of the reason why I didn't finish college, because I had to take out loans. And like, yeah, nah, I'd rather not do that. So I'm gonna drop out now. So that was what that I'm gonna drop out now. So that's why I'm like, nope, no, thank you, and I was gone. So let's, yeah. So I wonder anyone in the chat has student loans or did have student loans at one point, because I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this. Excuse me. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this because it's very this type of stuff. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about that. Hey Javier, thanks for joining us. Make sure if you haven't already, guys, make sure you like, and subscribe and all that good stuff. That helps a lot. Oh, I just closed the. Oh my God, bear with me 1 second. I just closed my tab here. So, oh my God, more. My ex timeline is for nothing but with Ukraine stuff and with Canada stuff. I mean, it's just so annoying. Everything. It's either we Ukraine or it's Canada. Talking about how they're going to be tough guys now and act like they're going to actually do something when clearly we all know they wouldn't. And they're also fear mongering about Trump possibly invading Canada. It's like he's going to take some of our land, which he's not going to do. I mean, he's trolling Trudeau, calling him governor and stuff, but he's not going to invade Canada. So I wanted to show you guys Stephen King's tweet. I thought he would disappear from X, but he's back now. So he's back after disappearing from X. So this is like a little, a picture or graffiti. It looks like there's no enemy like a friend betrayed, and then there's kind of like a X over the American flag. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so what are you gonna do? It's like you're acting like you're gonna do something. I mean, that's what I don't understand. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're betrayed now, so fuck you. I'm like, okay, so what are you gonna do? You're not
Yeah.
gonna do anything. I mean, you're just lashing out. So let's see. So more another Canadian account here is kind of going after Americans here. Uh,
David Dole.
oops. I
I
think he blocked me, so I can't even see his tweets. Anyways,
think he's
I
on.
could see.
I think he's on Blue Sky right now.
Oh, I don't use Blue Sky, but he did block me on X here a long time
He's
ago.
blocked me too. So.
So we got
Oh,
uh
Canada hates Trump account.
huh. Because I thought I looked at this and I was like, oh my god, here we go. Oops. So why is okay? No, this is good. You think people would have figured out and the first time that Trump was a complete fucking idiot. But nope, 77 million Americans look at that oxygen teeth and said, "Yeah, let's do this again." The world's doing a collective facepalm at this shit stain.
But I guess Canada loved Biden. You would think that they would know that Biden was a complete fucking idiot.
Yeah, there again. I'm not sure if Snow's in the chat or not, but it's still in the chat. But it seemed, but Canadians, they come across as very neoliberal shit libby. A majority of them, even though Trudeau's leaving office and his party's probably going to lose, and the Conservative Party's probably going to take control. But
Mhm.
Trudeau's been in control for years and years in Canada, so obviously, majority of them like that type of politics. So let's see what this is. I don't know what this is.
But this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other. But maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and
Sounds like
there's a
Biden.
danger up there too. They can
But
have
what the hell is he talking about? I don't even know what this
Yeah.
is. Why? Uh,
some failures.
You
Up
got
there.
nice hair. Nice
You got to
hair.
get them out.
yeah, what the hell is he talking about?
So I've authorized Elon a week ago. I said, we have two people up there that Biden and Kamala left up there.
Biden and
And he
Kamala.
knows it very well. I said, are you equipped to get him? He said, yeah.
Who is this? Hold on. I gotta see the original tweet here. Trump is stuck on two astronauts stuck in space. Maybe they'll love each other. Okay, so he's talking about two astronauts that are stuck in space.
Oh.
And he's asked Elon whether he can get him with SpaceX. That's what that
Okay.
is. Okay. So yeah, that was weird. I mean, there was like weird commentary from Trump.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell that was. Oh no. These
You close it
Canadians
again.
no, these Canadians can't get over their vaccines.
Ugh.
So this is a recent tweet from the outgoing prime minister from today, in fact. He says Canada is partnering with what's this? Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Never heard of it, but to help provide life-saving vaccines up to 500 million more kids around the world. That's 500 million kids growing up safe and healthy, protected against deadly diseases. Vaccines save lives. Canada is proud to do our part.
So that if
By the way,
vaccines save lives, then why do we have to keep taking them?
yeah,
Aren't they supposed to be the one and done thing to cure them
uh-huh.
all? Why do we have to keep
Allegedly
taking
so. And by the way, make sure you get your COVID updated boosters and stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
got my appointment scheduled for next
By the
week.
way,
So.
you sure you want to really follow Justin Trudeau?
uh, hey, I'm CBC. Thank you for joining us. So Javier says I had loans, but they were pre-2004 loans, which they got the paid off college, which was cheap in Puerto Rico. Okay, good, good, good. I mean, at least yours were paid off, but there's over $1 trillion in student loan debt right now. So let me. I came across this one too from Canada hates Trump or whatever the hell that account is. So listen up, fascist Barbie. Canada ranks fourth in the world in overall quality of life. Why the fuck would we trade with a country aspirely under a regime of a felon who worships dictators and doesn't give two shits about his own people? Fuck off, bimbo. So
Oh,
first of all,
wow.
nice calling a woman bimbo, which shit
Yeah.
lives, hate, and that's against, they ban words like making fun of women like bimbo and slut and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But now, since it's a Trump administration, now all of a sudden it's okay to bring that back. Secondly, you may rank fourth in the world overall quality of life, but you're over here melting down about the tariffs. So why in the world? Which one is it? You don't want to trade with us? Fine, don't trade with us. It's going to hurt Canadian economy more than the American economy. Look, don't get me wrong, it'll hurt us. I mean, we're certain products. I'm not saying that it won't. A lot of cars are made in Canada, but overall, it's not going to hurt us as much as you guys, which is why you guys are melting down about it. We are Canadian. We're not American. We would just refer to Trump as Premier Trump, but he's not a premier. We are a social democracy, not a republic. American can keep their guns and we'll keep our health care. Trump is an utter disrespect, will not serve Americans in any positive manner. Okay.
Can you play the video? I want to see what the video was.
Oh yeah, I can. I just came across that.
Continues to call the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, Governor of Canada. I'm curious what he means by that, and if there are any plans that are moving forward with trying to make Canada the 51st state. And I have a follow-up on the economy as well.
Sure. Well, the president put that in his True Social account, or his True Social post earlier today. He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
So basically, Trump is trolling Canada. So obvious, but
why are they calling her? She's just reporting what Trump put out. Like, why are you calling her a bimbo for that?
She had nothing to do with that. It's not her fault. I mean, she's just saying, look, this is what Trump posted on Truth Social. And
yeah, what are you attacking her for?
yeah, and she just basically said, look, we don't know what's going to happen there. We'll see. I mean, there's no reason really to attack her personally. You want to go after Trump, whatever, that's fine. But it's not really her fault. Oh, yeah. I should name, and since we're talking about the Canadians here, let's play this one. I'm sure you saw this. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says, no one in Canada should ever be afraid to call themselves Zionists. I am a Zionist. Very proud of that fact. He's a Zionist. So let's watch. Listen.
No one in Canada should ever be afraid to call themselves a Zionist. I am a Zionist.
They're applauding.
He gets a polite applause. They're like, I am a Zionist.
It's like saying a WWE promo is like, I am a Zionist.
and then the polite applause, like he acted like he said, well, I'm a homosexual back in 1995 or something. I mean, that's not something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's like, oh, well, I am a Zionist. It's like
even I know my mom admitted that she's a Zionist too. I was like, what? So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, so we got more tough guy talk here. Hold on.
Oh boy.
Because I love this is the governor of Ontario, whatever it is. Canada just told Trump and Elon to fuck all the way off. This is tough guy talk here, probably.
All U.S.-based companies will be banned from taking part in government procurement. Every year, the province and its agencies spend about $30 billion on procurement, alongside our more than $200 billion plan to build infrastructure. U.S.-based businesses will now lose out on tens of billions of dollars in revenues. They only have President Trump to blame. I'm also urging all 444 municipalities to do the same. And I'm thrilled to see some are already stepping up. For example, Mayor Patrick Brown in the city of Brampton and many other cities. As part of this government-wide procurement ban, we're going one step further. We're ripping up Ontario's contract with Starlink.
Ooh.
It's done. It's gone.
See, he canceled the contract with Starlink, so that's why it's like, oh, Elon can fuck all the way off. I'm like, "No, I don't think Elon would notice. He's so rich. I don't think he would notice a contract like that canceled. It's like, oh, they canceled the contract. All right. So he's so ridiculously rich that it's like, okay, I mean, you're acting like a tough guy. You cancel these contracts. Congratulations. So let's see. Oh no, I'm not. Fuck the Cash and Stream brothers. Let's see. No, I was gonna like, nope. Let's see. So yeah, the Canadians are. Oh, this is the one. This is the one I was talking about with the fear mongering about an invasion. So let me see. Oh yeah, that's good. Get more serious, Canada. New York Times reporting Trump wants to ignore our international borders and take Canadian land. He said it to Prime Minister Trudeau. I just don't blame Trump. He's a monster. I blame the average American voter who is no better than him and gave him power. So yeah, let's just blame the American people. Oh yeah, it's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Joe Biden's fault for being shitty candidates. No. It's on the American people voting for Trump. So who is this guy? Canadian emergency physician. Okay, so he's Canadian. So this is the actual part of the article where he alleges that Trump is going to take Canadian land. He also brought up something much more fundamental. He told Mr. Trudeau that he did not believe that the treaty that the Macritites, I don't know what that word is, the border between the two countries was valid, and he wants to revise the boundary. He offered no further explanation. That doesn't mean it's an invasion. It just means, apparently Trump disagrees with the border, where the border of Canada and the United States should be. The border treaty Mr. Trump referred to was established in 1908 and finalized the international boundary between Canada, then a British Dominion, and the United States. Mr. Trump also mentioned revisiting the sharing of lakes and rivers between the two nations, which is regulated by a number of treaties, a topic he expressed interest about in the past. So that doesn't mean it's an invasion, because he said he wants to ignore international border and take Canadian land. So it just, I don't know. Trump talks so much out of both sides of his mouth that I don't know what intentions he has. He's talking about during. Oh yeah, we should probably touch on his speech he had on Tuesday night. Technically it was a State of the Union address, but really it wasn't because he's only been in office for a month or a couple months. But we should probably touch on that because there are only a couple things that I really that stuck out to me, because that was one of the most boring speeches I ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like dozing off, and I'm trying to stay up and watch this and see if there's anything that I should cover on Friday. But
What
there's
he
nothing.
said about Elizabeth Warren was pretty funny, though.
Yeah, the Pocahontas line. But there was at the beginning of the speech, they kicked out a congressman, Al,
Al Green,
Al.
yeah.
Oh, I'm about to say Al Roker. I don't know why, but Al Green. But yeah, they kicked out Al Green initially, the old man with the cane, like doing that,
Yeah.
and he got kicked out. And then later in the speech, he went to doing his, imperialism. Like, oh, we're gonna take Greenland, we're gonna take Canada, we're gonna take the Panama Canal back, and I'm like, okay, like who cares? I mean, the only policy he really brought up was that the economy was barely touched on. And the only thing he did say was
Because the economy's great. The economy's great. I'm back. The
yeah, and
economy's great.
he also talked about the tariffs, and he kind of admitted, well, there might be a little bit of pain for the American people, but it won't last long, trust me. So he did admit that. And when he barely touched on Russia and Ukraine, all he said something to the effect of, well, we're going to get peace as soon as possible there, and that war will end as soon as possible. So that's pretty much all that stuck out to me about the speech. There were a bunch of virtue signaling moments where they had Lincoln Riley's parents there, and they had the kid with brain cancer, which Emma Vigeland, humiliated herself online and basically laughed at the kids.
I don't think,
So,
no, it wasn't cancer. It was the brain injury or whatever it was.
I thought he had brain cancer. Well, okay, was
No,
it brain injury?
the cancer you're thinking of was that African American kid.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you're talking.
Oh no,
Oh,
oh, I get it. She made fun of that girl that was injured.
that's what I was talking
I'm
about.
confusing them. Yeah, I'm confusing
Yeah.
them. All right, so that's some. So let's see. I don't think I would want Elon Musk to save me from something in space. Well, yeah, well, another Starlink satellite crashed and burned today. So obviously, Elon Musk is not doing too well right now with Starlink. I boycott Canadian bacon. Yuck. Well, I mean, they are doing boycotts of American liquor in Canada. So I'm very interested. So it's funny because I've seen these videos of them grabbing and in the liquor stores and stuff. So we have real quick before we move on to Russia, Ukraine. Jack Daniels maker CEO, Canadian provinces taking American liquor off the store shelves is worse than the tariff. So this is a little sign they had there apparently. So there we go.
Does he not realize that you're gonna piss off your customers by doing that?
Yeah, for the good of Ontario, for the good of Canada. In response to U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, products produced in the U.S. are no longer available until further notice. Looking for an alternative, asked our team about the extension range of Ontario and Canada-made products.
Now, wait. So they got rid of them. The products they got rid of them there in the U.S., right?
This is Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, the Canadians are bitter.
Say, why do this?
No, this is not in the U.S. It's in Canada. The Canadians are bitter, so they took off U.S. made liquor, even though they already paid for the liquor and they already put it on the shelves. So that liquor that they had there was not subject to tariffs. It's any future liquor they buy. So they just lost a bunch of money there for no reason, these stores, because they already paid for that liquor. They already paid Jack Daniels and all these other companies for the liquor. So they got the money. So they're taking it off the shelves and throwing it out, or I don't know what they're doing with it. It's just, just virtue signaling, just costing yourself money. But, it's not me, so you do you. If you want to ban American liquor, that's fine. Here's the video I was talking about. This is what I saw. And don't throw away the liquor. Just give it to me, but not all of it, but some of it. All right, this is the video I was talking about. So this is in Canada pulled roughly $240 million U.S. worth of American alcohol from stores yesterday. Most U.S. alcohol companies rent space and sell on consignment in most Canadian grocery liquor stores. Canadian whiskey makers benefit and make better whiskey anyways, hand down. Again, I haven't had Canadian whiskey, so I can't really give an opinion on that. But American whiskey is pretty damn good, so let's watch this. And look at that. That's liquor they paid for, by the way. They already paid for this liquor. So they're losing out all this money. Hey, let's virtue signal by taking these liquor we already paid for off the shelves. Because it doesn't apply to that liquor. It applies to any future liquor they buy. So, yeah. So, again, there were also protests in Canada in front of the U.S. Embassy because of the tariffs. And I joked on X, like, well, the Americans have not noticed these tariffs. It's the Canadians that are melting down about it. Most Americans are like, it's a Friday. It's a Friday. We have a weekend. We're going out to the club. They don't care about these tariffs. All right, so this is more of this. Scenes from Ontario, making America great again by making the world hate us and not buy from us. This is an American liquor produced in red states that have been ordered to take off the shelves across Ontario. Here's the thing, Brian. They already bought this liquor, so they already got the money. So this is a giant virtue signal. because I don't know what they're going to do with that liquor. It just lost $280 million US because they refuse to sell this liquor. So, because they're virtue signaling. Look at that. Gone. More liquor. And they're videoing it like they're proud of themselves. Like, we're taking all this American liquor off the shelves. By the way, which we already bought, and we're going to lose a bunch of money because we refuse to sell it. But, yeah, I mean, look at us. Look at how tough we are. Aren't we great? It's like, no, you're an idiot because you're just going to lose out on a bunch of money.
It's
But,
sort
hey,
of like the get woke, go broke thing.
yeah, hey, you do you. I mean, you do you. You know, if you want to lose all that money, God bless. So Max says we're all going to be drinking hand sanitizer. He said no more Jack Daniels Red. That's actually really good. Are you Canadian? I think you may. Maybe I could be wrong, Max, but you could be. I assume you're. That's why the post that you're Canadian. Again, I'm not making fun of all Canadians. I'm just making fun of these virtue signaling assholes who take. So that's really how I'm making fun of. Not making fun of all Canadians. I have nothing against Canadians in general. But and so now there's a claim here that I see. I'm not gonna keep doing this, but alcohol is taken off the streets, off the shelves in Canada, and sent back to American liquor companies. It's consignment. They don't pay for it until it's been sold. So okay, but they're still losing out all
I
that
mean, does
money.
Canada really want to become worse than the U.S.?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not Canadian, but it seems like there's a giant virtue signal going on here because they're still losing out on all that money. So this is one more thing, and then I'll move on to Russia, Ukraine. No more American liquor in British Columbia's government stores. Government stores? That's a thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
we
never heard of
don't
that.
have government stores here in America. They're all privatized. But BC Hydro, ICBC, health authorities ditch U.S. goods, go Canadian. So apparently, there's government-run stores in Canada. Again, I don't know much about that, but
As British Columbians and as Canadians, we'll stand strong and united in the face of this unprecedented attack. This
it's
is
not an attack.
not a fight we started, but we will respond firmly and forcefully. Here in BC, we support a strong Team Canada approach to stand up to Donald Trump.
Yay, you're standing up to Donald Trump. Like by taking off liquor off the shelves, you're somehow standing up to Donald Trump. But he doesn't own
it's like that LeBron James meme. Oh,
it's just ridiculous, It's like just absurd, Oh well, we're standing up to the president of the United States because he wants to charge us more money. The Canadians are not backing down. Congratulations. Ontario, British Columbia, Quebec, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland and Labrador are all pulling American liquors from provincial retailers. Congratulations. You guys win. What do you win? I don't know. You lost a bunch of money and I mean, and buy Canadian instead. I love I buy Canadian instead. Yay. Oh, you live in Northern California. Okay. You're not American, not Canadian. Sorry. See, this is where the old American liquor was at. It's like, buy Canadian instead. Congratulations again. God bless. God bless. I mean, I'm not here defending Jack Daniels or any other major company.
I mean,
But
just the regular, normal people from Canada wouldn't really care. It's like, we probably don't follow politics. It's like, yeah, I just want some whiskey,
yeah, I want the Jack. Where's my Jack Daniels? Or where's this? Or where's that? Is like, oh well, we had the virtue signal, and so we're not selling it anymore. Great. I don't want. I'm not sure if Canadian liquor is better than American, but American liquor sells well in Canada for a reason. So, yeah. So, oh god. So we'll get to Ukraine now because Ukraine, Russia, the EU, and all that good stuff. Because I have a lot to say about that. The Justin Trudeau. I mean, the reason why I'm bringing up Trudeau again because he was talking about Ukraine here. Oh no, actually, he's not. It's something else. Just that the account that shared it had a Ukraine flag on it.
Hmm.
So let me see what this. Justin Trudeau has tears in his eyes because he gives a shit about his country. He actually cares about his people. Imagine that. There's nothing weak about this. This is called leadership. Long live Canada. By the way, has an American flag, a Ukrainian flag, a pirate's flag for some reason, and
Yeah.
he has a check mark. So I don't understand the pirate flag, but okay. Because the Canadians are actually opposing the Orange Man. So we have, that's by definition makes Justin Trudeau good, even though he's been a horrible leader for Canada and he's basically forced out of office. so, as we talked about and are going to talk about, the EU have completely lost their minds over the last week because we kind of really touched on it last week where the EU was willing to do all this money and they're basically posturing for war against Russia, even though it makes no sense because they have no chance in a war against Russia. And on top of that, they have they don't have the money to do a military buildup, and they haven't since World War II. They've relied on the US for their security guarantees. So now all of a sudden Trump is saying, "Oh yeah, let's make peace. Let's make peace between Russia and Ukraine. The proxy war has gone on long enough." And immediately here comes the EU, like a full blown meltdown, like I've never seen. It's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do a military buildup ourselves. We're gonna go to war directly." They're threatening war, like a hot war with Russia. It's not like they're posturing. They're posturing, yeah, but they're threatening a hot war, like we're gonna go in with our military, full in, do an invasion of Russia, ground invasion. I'm like, you're gonna do a ground invasion? Like right now we're in March, so the summer is coming up. But that ground invasion, Russia is a gigantic country, so good luck with a ground invasion. I mean, the Russians are, they've been fighting on that land for millenniums, so generations, so they'll be fine. The Europeans, they have no chance. So we'll start with this story first. Especially British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is really, really hawkish against Russia. Very hawkish. So we'll start with the British Broadcasting Corporation, which, by the way, got funding but from the USAID, as we covered at the time. But they got some funding from USAID. But Sir, let's make this right. Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed a EU move to increase defense spending that was decided at an emergency summit in Brussels on Thursday. The package includes loans and weakened deficit rules in a bid to boost the continent's military forces. So, what they're doing is they're taking out loans and they're weakening their deficit rules in a bid to boost the continent's military forces. In other words, they don't have the money to do this military increase. So they're going to take out a bunch of loans and they're going to weaken their deficit rules. Because I guess in the EU, they can't have deficits or they have very little deficits. But here in the US, our deficit's in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Nobody cares. But I guess in the EU, they have like strict deficit rules. So yeah, they don't have the money, so they'll take out loans and make it easier for them to run up deficits. Speaking after a call with EU leaders earlier, the Prime Minister said it was a historic move and another sign of Europe stepping up. They have no money for this. Like, what are you gonna do? They don't take out a bunch of loans and weaken their deficit rules. Good luck with that. It comes as Sir Keir tries to persuade European countries to join a coalition of the willing. We've heard that before. This is right before the Iraqi invasion, 2003, I think, 2002, 2003, when George Bush literally came up with a coalition of the willing in order to help them invade Iraq. Now, a coalition of the willing to deter Russia in event of a peace deal in Ukraine. Do you see how insane this sentence is? So they want to, Keir Starmer wants to build a coalition of the willing to deter Russia in an event of a peace deal in Ukraine. So they don't want peace. They don't want peace that the Trump administration is trying to do. Instead, they're trying to get together a bunch of European countries together in order to do what? Invade Russia? Like, what are you going to do? Ground invasion? I don't understand what the intention is here. Because, according to UK officials, about 20 countries are interested in joining the coalition, although it would not necessarily offer to send troops, but instead provide other support. So, what's the point? Like, basically, you're doing what NATO does without NATO. So, trust me, the U.S. should leave NATO. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there's no reason for NATO today. But the idea that, you're basically going to do what NATO does. Like, oh, no, we're not going to send troops. Don't worry about it. We're just going to send, we're going to offer support, whatever that means. In the recent weeks, EU leaders have repeated long-standing promises to boost Europe's military capabilities, after voices concerned that the continent cannot rely on U.S. security support under President Trump. So, yeah, again, they have no money for this. So, so take out a bunch of loans and basically run more deficits in order to do that. At a summit in Brussels on Thursday, they backed plans to jointly borrow 150 billion euros to lend to the EU governments for military expenditures. So I wonder what's 150 billion euros. Bear with me 1 second. Euros. So it's 108 billion, 340 million dollars in US dollars. So they're going to borrow 108 billion dollars, in other words. Wait, no, that's not right. Hold on. 100, I'm sorry, I just messed that up. 150 billion euros. So basically it's 162,502,502,500,000. So they're gonna borrow a shit ton of money basically in order to do this. The European Commission has also proposed diverting regional development funds towards defense. So basically, they're going to stop doing regional development in order to spend more money on the military, alongside an emergency suspension of the bloc's rules on government's debt and deficit levels. So again, they're going to temporarily waive the rules on debt and deficit levels. So they're going to run up a shit ton of deficit and get a bunch of debt in order to do this. So again, they have no money for this. This is what they have to do in order to do this. Starmer was briefed on the plans on a call earlier with the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. I think I butchered that name, but whatever. And the European Council President Antonio Costa, alongside leaders of Canada, Turkey, Norway, and Iceland. So even the Canadians are involved in this for some reason. It goes none of their business. After Downing Street said the Prime Minister applauded the progress made at the Brussels meeting, he also discussed plans for the coalition of the willing and noted a meeting in Paris next week would be an important moment to drive forward planning. Number 10 spokeswoman said. Oh, so the Prime Minister lives on 10 Downing Street, which is why number 10 spokeswoman. So the UK and France have said they were willing to provide peacekeeping troops to Ukraine and are urging other European countries to make the same commitment. That's not going to happen. The Russians are not going to allow foreign military presence right next to their border in order to peacekeeping. You might as well have Ukraine join NATO if that's the case, because if the Russians allow that, it'd be ridiculous for them to allow that. But Sir Keir said that in order for that to be effective, their president in Ukraine must be backed by security guarantees from the U.S. Yeah, because the Russians would attack at that point. And so let's see. U.S. President Donald Trump has so far avoided committing to such support, instead arguing the presence of American workers in Ukraine as part of a potential minerals deal would be sufficient to deter Russia from furthering invading Ukraine. So how about this? How about saying Ukraine? Oops, my table almost fell over here. How about saying Ukraine will be neutral in any war? And so they don't join NATO, they be brain neutral, and the Russians won't have no reason to invade at that point. But no, we got to take their minerals. Donald Trump can't wait to take their minerals. Russia was flatly rejected such a move, saying it would amount to direct, official, and unveiled involvement of NATO members in the war against Russia. Yeah, I mean, that's why they would never allow that. The Russians would never allow that as part of a peace deal. Talks between the U.S. and Ukraine aimed at reaching an agreement will take place next week in Saudi Arabia. Ahead of the talks, Trump said on Friday he was strongly considering new sanctions and tariffs on Russia, following a wave of overnight strikes in Ukraine. Yeah, the Russians don't care because they're doing fine. Well, the tariffs against the U.S. has put on them, or the sanctions. Writing on social media, he added, "To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table now before it's too late. Thank you." So, yeah, so that's going to work. UK Defense Secretary John Healey earlier returned from Washington, D.C., where he met with U.S. counterpart Pete Hegseth to discuss ending the Russian war in Ukraine. Speaking in Washington, Healey said, "It's lasting, secure peace we all want to see. We have a big role to play in Europe, and we are determined to do that, except that your prime minister openly said he doesn't want peace." Hegseth dismissed as garbage, suggesting that under Trump leadership, the U.S. was becoming pro-Russia. He said the president is working with both sides in a way that only President Trump can. Progress toward an agreement appeared to take a step back after Trump and Zelensky had the dramatic row in front of cameras in the Oval Office. Well, Zelensky was disrespectful and he was embarrassed, so
Yeah.
that's what happened there. However, Hegseth said the U.S. president was very encouraged with the signs we're seeing from Ukraine. On Thursday, UK Ministry of Defense signed a £30 billion deal with Anglo-American firm to provide Ukraine with LTS 600 millimeter and 700 millimeter meter systems designed to monitor an area before striking incoming targets. So wait. So the UK is actually working with an American company in order to do this. Like I thought Americans were evil all of a sudden in the EU. That's weird. Oh, to be fair, the British actually left the EU like 10 years ago, if you remember Brexit. But Chancellor Rachel Reeves also announced a £2.26 billion loan to Ukraine, funded by profits generated by frozen Russian assets. So what they did is they stole a bunch of money from the Russians and just gave it to the Ukrainians as a loan. So on Friday, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, butchered that name too, confirmed that they had received the first of the loans, amounting to 752 million pounds. I want to say euros, but it's pounds. In a social media post, he said, "I'm grateful to Keir Starmer, the UK government, and our G7 partners for the mechanism to make Russian money work for Ukraine." So what they're saying is, thank you very much for stealing from the Russians and giving it to us. We expect all sovereign assets of the Russian Federation to be confiscated and transferred to our benefit, our country in the future. So what the Ukrainians want is for the West to steal all of Russia's money and just give it to them. Earlier this week, Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey urged the Prime Minister to seize the frozen Russian assets held in the UK. This is from the Liberal Democrat Party in the UK. Like, what the I mean, they all agree. Yeah, I mean, let's steal all the Russians' money and give it to the Ukrainians. Like, so what's the point of opposition party? I don't know, but same thing here in the U.S. with Democrats and Republicans. When it comes to war, they all agree. They all agree. I mean, especially with Israel. Oh my God, they all definitely agree. The Liberal Democrats are now calling for the Attorney General to publish legal advice on taking the assets. Yeah, because it's probably illegal, but they're trying to get the lawyers to figure out how to make it legal. The party's shadow Attorney General Ben McGuire said, we need the chance to properly scrutinize decision making on this crucial issue, so the UK can make the right choice for Ukraine." So that's that. The UK is very they're very what's what I'm looking for. They're very hawkish right now towards Russia for no apparent reason, because there's really no reason for this. Absolutely no reason for this. Hey Sean, thank you for joining us. Please, if you guys haven't like and subscribe, what video? I guess one of the videos I played froze. Sorry about that. I mean, so yeah, I'm also gonna probably play a speech from plenty of these world leaders here, where especially the Canadian ones, where not the Canadian ones, the EU ones, where they're kind of melting down about this. So let's start with this one. Let's start with the leader of the EU here, because she's announcing this deal here. This so 26 member states of Europe's endorsed the EU president's 800 billion to 1 trillion US defense spending plan, which, as we established, they can't afford, but they're going to basically take out loans and it's put a shit ton of deficits and debts on themselves. So let's watch.
To do so. And this is why we will propose to activate the National Escape Clause of the Stability and Growth Pact. This will allow member states to significantly increase their defense expenditures without triggering the excessive deficit procedure. So if member states would increase their defense spending by 1.5% of GDP on average, this could create fiscal space of close to 650 billion euros over a period of 4 years. The second proposal will be a new instrument. It will provide 150 billion euros of loans to member states for defense investment. This is about basically spending better and spending together. And we're talking about pan-European capabilities domains like, for example, air and missile defense, the artillery systems, missiles and ammunition, drones and anti-drone systems, but also to address other needs from cyber to military mobility, for example. This will help member states to pool demand and to buy together. And of course, with this equipment, member states can massively step up their support to Ukraine. So immediate military equipment for Ukraine.
Oh my God. Oh, by the way, this account claims that this is equivalent to U.S. defense spending. A new global superpower is being born. They can't afford to do this, you jackass. I mean, they're basically taking out historic debt in order to do it. What happened? So what the hell are you talking about? A new superpower is being born. Yeah, like the U.S. or the Russians or China, that can't afford to do this. They can't afford to do this. The Europeans have been relying on the U.S. for the security since World War II, pretty much, the end of World War II. That's 80 years now. So all of a sudden now they're going to be, they can't afford this, actually. They're taking out loans and increasing their deficits to record levels in order to do this. In order to, and by the way, who gets all this money? Most likely, most of it's going to go to U.S. defense contractors. So they're going to become even wealthier, unless the Europeans have their own defense contractors that I don't know about. But as of now, as far as I know, it's probably going to go to U.S. defense contractors for the most part. So, yay, you're going to, even though right now everybody hates America because of Trump, but U.S. defense contractors are going to get super wealthy off of this. So, let's see. Wait. I also wanted to do this. People are pissed off at Marco Rubio because he pointed out the truth how Ukraine is a proxy war. For some reason, Marco Rubio has like a cross on his head. Just ignore that.
The worst person just made a great point.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did. The Ukraine war is a proxy war between Washington and Moscow. Again, he's not wrong there. 100% true. And since the Russian invasion in 2022, the U.S. government has tried to bury the proxy war narrative as best as it can. Now it's coming straight from the White House. Well, yeah, because it's the truth. All right, so let's hear out this guy here who has ignored the cross on his head.
And frankly,
I'm assuming because this was done on Wednesday. This past Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, so I'm guessing a lot of the Trump administration officials had that. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was Ash Wednesday. So
a proxy war between nuclear powers, the United States helping Ukraine and Russia. And it needs to come to an end. And no one has any idea or any plan to bring it to an end. The plan of the Ukrainians up to now and their allies on Capitol Hill and the people you talk to in other countries is, let's just keep giving them as much as they need for as long as it takes. That's not a strategy. And frankly,
not a strategy. It's just to enrich U.S. defense contractors.
Rubio.
And again, little Marco here, little hand Marco made a good point here. So we don't like that. By the way, I have to debunk this real quick because, yeah, it was Ash Wednesday. Yeah, that's why Marco Rubio had that cross in ash over his forehead. I have to bring this up because this is ridiculous. This is why we hate Russia. So countries that are invaded by Russia and the USSR. Now take a look at these years. They're mostly either in the 20th century during the Soviet Union, 19th century, some 18th century, 16th century, 15th century, uh 1717, 1847, 1917, 1792. I mean, if you go to the 21st century, even the 21st century, Russia's invaded what, two countries? Georgia and Ukraine. And a lot of people may argue that Chechnya it's their own country, even though they're part of Russia still technically. So I'll give you that one. Three countries, and since the 21st century started. So a lot of these numbers, this is why we hate Russia. Look at all the countries they invaded. They were back either before when the Russian Empire, when the Tsars were around, or during the Soviet Union era.
Now show us the countries that Ukraine has invaded.
It's too much. This is so ridiculous. It's so disingenuous. Is how many countries has the United States invaded since the 21st century? Let's put it since 9/11. I lost count. Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya. See, I've lost count. A lot of African countries we've bombed in for no reason. So that would probably put it number around 8 to 10. Let's see where else. We've done actions all over the Middle East. So hell, I mean, we're looking at maybe 10 to 15 countries that we've invaded since 9/11. And by the way, Donald Trump recently used the global terrorism law in order to justify his murdering or about to kill a bunch of drug lords in Mexico. So
law and order.
Yeah, he's the law and order president. So let's see. Yeah, I wanted to also look at this. I'm not gonna actually play the sound because I'm worried about the music, but yeah, this is the point that I made before. Because look at all the countries. Because I talk about this more in the episode that I filmed and I'm going to air Sunday. The history of this and why the U.S. and NATO are responsible for this war, not the Russians or the Ukrainians, to be fair. But back in the back when the Soviet Union fell, the U.S. promised Gorbachev that the NATO would not move 1 inch eastward after Germany was allowed to be reunified as a country. And what do? We immediately do this, and we immediately do this, as you can see here. They all join NATO here. All the blue countries there join NATO. So they either join NATO. The dark blue is NATO member. Okay. So Turkey, Romania, the Baltic states, they're all join NATO. Sweden and Finland do too, I'm sure, at some point here. Yeah, so this is what led directly to Ukraine war. So,
It still amazes me how huge Russia is, the country.
And it was bigger. The Soviet Union led all the way to Germany, pretty much. That's why they had East Germany and West Germany. So the Soviet Union pretty much covered. Hold on, let me go back to this real quick because I could show you guys that it was here. The Russian Empire, the Soviet Union was here. Like they split East and West Germany, and they had control pretty much of all these countries here, except for Finland and Sweden, obviously. So it was huge, and now Russia's still huge to this day. I mean, even after they lost all the Eastern Europe states that they controlled at one point after the war, after World War II. So yeah, I mean, it is amazing how big Russia is, and eventually, let's see what else here. That's last week. Okay. I mean, so I wanted to play. This is the Lithuanian president. Yeah, they're nuclear. I mean, they all had a lot of these states did have nuclear weapons at one point. World War III, Lithuanian president, that name there, says in the quiet part out loud, Ukraine is buying precious time for us every day, paying with blood. So it'd be highly irresponsible to waste this time. Europe is preparing for war. So they're openly just saying it, you know?
There's no need to explain.
Yeah, they're openly admitting it that Europe is preparing for war while basically sacrificing Ukraine and Ukrainian people and having them killed in order to for Europe prepare for a war they can't afford. And on top of that, they don't have enough men in order to fight the Russians. So yeah, good luck with that.
There's no need to explain in a detailed way how important is this meeting. We are in the 4th year of the war in Ukraine, and Ukraine is buying the precious time for us every day, paying with the blood. So it would be highly irresponsible to waste this time and to have long hours discussions without the clear outcome. So I think we have two very important proposals on the table. First of all, I appreciate the efforts of the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, for this 800 billion euro plan. I think
Which
this
can't
is
afford.
a step forwards comparing with the situation we are now. And it would be really high assistance for my country because we have very ambitious target in my country to spend for defense from 5 to 6% of our GDP. It means a lot, but for that we need more flexible treatment of defense spending while calculating the fiscal deficit according to economic and growth and stability plan. Then 20 billion euros financial package for Ukraine. You are smiling. I think this is very serious because Lithuania is committed to contribute.
It's a joke. It's like, oh, we're gonna give them 20 billion more euros. So for what? They don't have a military. Like a lot of the military-age males are either dead or left the country already. So they literally have to use homeless people, retards, and whatever they can find in the streets in order to fight the Russians. Basically, to become cannon fodder for the Russians. So what do you expect them to do? I don't understand. You give them all the money in the world, they don't have men. They don't have men. This makes no sense.
And to pay our part to this fund because we are committed also to support Ukraine by 0.25% of our GDP each year. We calculated if other countries will commit to pay the same amount, Ukraine would receive 43 billion euros, and this is a lot. And this is really...
It's a lot. Yes, it is a lot, jackass. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you a bunch of euros to the Ukrainians, and we're going. They all hate Donald Trump. That's why they're doing this, because Trump's trying to end the war, and they're like, no, we're gonna oppose the Orange Man, so we're going to basically increase the war for no reason. So, yeah, let me get to Macron from France, who's really lost his mind about the Russians. He's completely lost his mind. I mean, this is ridiculous. So, I don't know who this moron is, but I assume he's some kind of Democrat. Singer, songwriter, musician here for social climate justice, Fintwit, and preventing a Trump dictatorship. Oh, don't worry about it. That dictatorship isn't going to happen. Moron. Do I follow this account? No, I don't. I don't know why I said subscribe there. He says, holy shit, French President Emmanuel Macron has zero faith in Putin puppet Trump. Like, there's no evidence for that. What evidence do you have? It's so untrustworthy and morally bankrupt. He may well be in cahoots with the murderous Russian dictator Vladimir Putin.
Oh, gosh.
It's the same bullshit. It's the same talking points. It's like they have nothing else. So
it's the state of line.
Yeah, it's like murderous Russian dictator.
Yay!
So let's go over this. Who canceled elections? It wasn't Putin. It was Zelensky. And there's always the excuse I hear from these Ukrainian supporters, like, "Well, he's in the middle of a war. Like, he can't. We can't have elections." Well, except America has had elections for decades, and we've been at war for decades. Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War had an election in 1864, right in the middle of the Civil War. He still did an election. So you're able to do elections even during war. The other excuse, who's banned political parties? As far as I know, Putin has not banned political parties. Zelensky has. Multiple political parties have been banned under his rule, his dictatorship, which I'm going to call dictatorship. He had an election since 2019, since he got in power. So what happened? You know what? So yeah, again, this is total bullshit. The talking points are just lame and the same thing over and over again.
Now to breaking news. Just minutes ago, French President Emmanuel Macron wrapped up an address to his nation in which he said the threat from Russia is real.
Bullshit.
NBC's Matt Bodner is following this.
Total bullshit. There's no threat. So basically, the logic is he's attacked Ukraine because he doesn't want Ukraine to join NATO. Why in the world would he attack the rest of Europe when they're in NATO? It makes no sense. There's no logic behind this. It's just we're scared of the Russians and we want to oppose the Orange Man. So let's claim that the Russians are coming, even though they're not.
This for us. What were the big takeaways from this message, Matt?
Thank you, Chris. Well, there's a lot in this speech. I think we're going to be coming back to this one quite a bit. It's the kind of speech you would expect from a European leader who appears very concerned, not just about Russia, but about the United States. Let's hit some of the highlights. First of all, there will be a summit of some kinds in the near future with European defense officials to start working out what Europe is going to do to help Ukraine, presuming the United States might not.
I hope not.
Some of his other points, peace cannot be guaranteed on our own continent anymore. Russia, as you said, is a threat.
Total bullshit.
France needs you, the people, and we will no longer benefit from the post-Cold War peace dividend, which was a very interesting point for him to make. And he's saying that peace cannot be achieved if Ukraine falls. The price of peace can.
But how is Ukraine falling? Like, that's not what Putin wants. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have taken Ukraine in 2 weeks when the war first started. He already surrounded Kyiv and, was ready, but he never did because he didn't have the intention of taking the whole country. He just wanted Ukraine to have a guarantee of neutrality, and then he would withdraw. And in fact, there was a deal pretty quickly until Boris Johnson went to the Ukraine and basically said, no, you got to keep fighting. Like, don't you dare, come to a deal with Putin. We want you to keep fighting. Me and Joe Biden want you to keep fighting. So... And as I established on the episode that I filmed is going to air on Sunday, Joe Biden, Victoria Nuland, John McCain, Chris Murphy, and one more guy were directly involved in the coup in 2014 that led to the ouster of Yanukovych, which led to all this today, what's going on here. So Joe Biden was the vice president. He was point man in that coup. Obama had his hands were not involved in that, at least not directly, because I think Obama was smart enough to realize what a disaster that would be. But he allowed Biden to do this anyway. So, and then when Biden became president, of course, he starts openly talking about Ukraine joining NATO, which is a Russian red line for decades now. So once that happened, it's like, okay, you left Putin no choice but to invade Ukraine, and he's still there to this day, 3 years later. So I established that more. You guys should check that out. It's on Sunday at 7:30. But let's keep going with this.
Peace cannot be the collapse of Ukraine, and it cannot be based on a weak ceasefire. So this is obviously, I think, addressing a lot of the things we've been seeing out of the White House, out of Washington with regards to Ukraine in recent days. To me, the big takeaway, the thing that's really ringing in my ears, I want to believe that the United States will stay on our side, but we have to be ready if it doesn't. So, like I said, this feels like a significant speech from a European leader who is concerned about America's future role in Europe. And obviously the recent moves we've seen with Ukraine, this announcement today about the suspension of military aid to Ukraine, these reports about intelligence sharing ending. So there we have it, a big speech from Macron.
Good. Again, I mean, the sooner the war ends, the better. I don't care what the terms are. I'm not bothered by any of it. Whoops. As long as the war ends, that's all I care about. It's because this is like Sean says they really want World War III, don't they? I mean, that's what I said. They're going to kamikaze themselves into World War III because they have no chance to beat the Russians. I mean, this war, they're going to lose. Like whatever war they have, they're going to lose. So, hold on. Let me see this before I decide to play. Oh, this is mostly music. All right, I can play this. Just that I gotta mute it. So this is from the Times of India. I came across this. EU blind too, and Putin mocks Europe's 840 billion defense nonsense after Trump snub. So let me mute this. So this is music here, but Kremlin lambasts NATO nation. Polish PM Tusk comments are confrontational and militaristic. Putin named Peskarov takes a jab at European Union. They are
The
yet
video
to
is very
see.
laggy, so I can't read the
Oh
subtitles.
god, yeah, I don't know why it's so laggy. I mean, that's why I'm reading it, but yeah, they have not. They are yet to see the new dynamic between U.S. and Russia. Yeah, I don't know why it's so laggy over there. Vladimir Putin's aide lambasted Poland's PM. Donald Tusk comments on new arms race.
Donald Tusk?
Yeah, he's Poland's prime minister.
Oh.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the Donald Tusk comments were confrontational. Well, no shit. I mean, he's openly like trying to confront the Russians for no reason. Europe is yet to adjust to the new dynamics between Russia and the U.S., Peskov said. Well, yeah, how dare they try to get peace? Kremlin slams militaristic comment by Polish PM. They will not win against us because we will not play with them. We will be busy ensuring our own interests. We regret the confrontational, even militaristic statements coming from Warsaw and Paris, which shows that Europe has yet to adjust to the new dynamic between Moscow and Washington. European leaders will eventually feel which way the wind is blowing. So basically, the prediction from the Russians are Europe will eventually do what the U.S. wants, anyways. They're just posturing, which is my prediction too. I think Europe will eventually than what normally would. Anything else? No, I mean that's not important. So yeah, you get the point. I mean, let's see. I want to find what's his face a Macron's speech because there's more clips. Once you guys see how psychotic this guy really is. Yeah, I was like, really? I mean, oh my god. The new leader of the free world, Emmanuel Macron. Initially, I was not fully aligned with Macron due to some of his policies. However, my perspective has changed. Macron has demonstrated ability to shape global affairs, lead Europe, and strengthen the West position. I mean, total bullshit and all that. But, yeah, I mean, let's see. Where is that speech? Here we go. This is part of it. I just found it hilarious that Macron claims that he wants to tame Russia. So this is Macron calls for a tame Russia. I put, yeah, they'll get tamed because Macron demands it. I mean, he's out of his mind. What does that mean, tamed Russia? Like, what do you expect them not to invade when NATO basically surrounded their borders? Is that what you expect them to do? Is like, just take it. NATO is surrounding your borders. Just take it. How dare you try to, actually protect yourselves? It's just absurd. Just absolutely like they're out of their minds in Europe. They would rather kamikaze themselves into a war that they're going to lose instead of doing what the U.S. wants and get peace. We have to. So yeah, like this. I'm not gonna probably play the speech this is the opening segment of an address by Emmanuel Macron made to the French nation today, with captions. Watching this, I started to really get how Europe slid into a catastrophic confrontation in 1914. Everyone was gripped by fear of everyone else. Heads of states imagined themselves as grand visionaries leading their nations towards a glorious future. which is what led to World War One, because the European powers were scared of each other, and they wanted to grandstand and virtue signal about how powerful they were. So they all started a war with each other for no reason. Uh, So apparently, somebody, a Serbian, killed a Grand Duke from Germany or something, and that was the spark for World War One. So basically, for no reason, the World War One started. And here we go again with World War Two. So World War Two is Hitler and stuff. I meant World War Three.
Français, mes chers compatriotes.
This is in French, and I could probably read some of this. I'm just going to read it because it might be laggy again. My dear compatriots, I address you this evening because of international situation and consequences for our country and for Europe. As you are, I know, legitimately worried about the ongoing historical events that are disrupting the world order. See, that's what they're scared of. It's disrupting the world order because post-World War II, the world order was the United States, basically protects Europe, and NATO protects Europe as well in exchange for security. Now that world order is being disrupted by Donald Trump, and they're all having a massive meltdown over it. And they're like, "Oh my God, we gotta increase defense spending, which we can't afford." And what are we gonna do? Let's see. Oops. The war in Ukraine, which has led to nearly 1 million deaths and injuries, continues with the same intensity. Well, whose fault is that? Again, the United States of America, our allies, changed their position on this war. Good, as they should. Less supportive of Ukraine and leaving doubts about the future. At the same time, the same United States of America is trying to impose customs tariffs on products from Europe. Okay, I don't really care about that. Finally, the world continues to be more and more brutal, and the terrorist threat does not weaken. Look at this psychopath. In total, prosperity and security have become more uncertain. We must admit that we're entering a new era. Let's see. The war in Ukraine has been going on for years. We have from day one decided to support Ukraine and sanction Russia. Oh, congratulations. So this is like the area of Ukraine in yellow that the Russians control right now. And, I guess this is a problem for some reason. And we have done well because not only for the Ukrainian people who will fight with courage, but for their freedom. But it's also our security who's threatened. Bullshit. It's total bullshit. Indeed, if a country can invade its neighbor in Europe, then no one can be sure of anything. So why would the Russians invade France or Paris? That's World War III because of NATO. They're part of NATO. So none of this makes any sense. But the psychopath here swears up and down that France is in danger somehow. And it's the law that is strongest that applies peace and can no longer be guaranteed our continent itself. History has taught us this. Beyond Ukraine, the Russian threat is there and affects the countries of Europe. It affects us. How? Again, the Russians aren't going to invade. Russia has already made it a global conflict of Ukraine. What? What did you just? Russia has already made a global conflict, the Ukraine conflict. How? Did they invade another country and somehow I missed it? No, it's not a global conflict. You guys made a global conflict when you started funding Ukraine. So you made a global conflict, not the Russians. It has mobilized North Korean soldiers, Iranian equipment in our continent with help of these countries to arm themselves more. It is true that they're using North Korean soldiers on the front lines, or they're about to, because the Russians are even running out of soldiers to use. Iranian equipment, it's probably true too, because the Iranians and Russians are allies. So the reason but the North Koreans are allowing their soldiers to be used in exchange for more military technology. So North Koreans can update their military. So that's what the deal is, basically, between the Russians and North Koreans. Russia, President Putin violates our borders and assassinates opponents. Oh, there's no evidence for any of that. Who did the Russians assassinate in Paris or in France? Something I missed, obviously. Manipulates elections in Romania and Moldova. No evidence for that either. We talked about the was it Romania? I think a couple weeks ago, or was it Romania or some kind of? I forget what state it is right now. But we talked about a state that that the pro-Russian like leader won, and they canceled those elections and held new elections and arrested the president who won the election, and their excuse was flimsy. It's like, oh, Russian interference. That was all the excuse they had. It organized the digital attacks against our hospitals to block its operation. Oh, really? Any evidence for that? You need a citation for that. Russia tries to manipulate our opinions with lies and spread on social networks. Again, this is Russia. This is Russiagate. Remember when Trump's first term, where they allegedly used Facebook ads in order to help Trump win the election? It's ridiculous. And now here we go again. It's like they're trying to manipulate our opinions with social media posts. I'm like, the United States can do that too. You guys can do that too if you wanted to. So what are you talking about? It's not just the Russians. And deep down, it's our testing or whatever he said. It doesn't in the air, sea, space, beyond our screens. This aggressiveness does not seem to know any borders. All right. And Russia at the same time continues to rearm itself, spending more than 40% of its budget on this end. You know how much of our budget the U.S. spends? Nearly 60% of our budget goes into the military. So Russia spending their puny 40%, acting like that's a big deal. We spend nearly 60% of our budget on the military. So there's nothing there. 2030 plans to increase its army again at 300,000 additional soldiers, 3,000 tanks, and 300 more fighter jets. Again, that's small potatoes compared to the U.S. and our military, but whatever. Who can therefore believe in this context that Russia today will stop in Ukraine? Because it would make no sense. Russia's in France, and most of Europe is a part of NATO. So why in the world would he start a war with NATO, World War III? He wouldn't do that. The Russians wouldn't do that. Like, that makes no sense. But again, doesn't have to make sense. Russia has become, at the time I was talking to you, in the years to come, a threat to France and Europe. Again, no evidence for this. I deeply regret it. And I'm convinced that in the long term, peace would be in our continent with Russia becoming peaceful again. How's that supposed to happen if you think Russia is a mortal enemy? But the situation I'm describing to you is one that is that one we have to deal with it. So that's the psychopath here, Macron, who thinks the Russians are very scary. The Russians think they're very scary, guys. So Jacqueline, the Golden Monarch show, I think that's tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 10. So just letting you know that. It's tomorrow at 10, right after Pro Wrestling Talk. So look, that's tomorrow at 10 Eastern, by the way. So if you're still in the chat, I'm just letting you know what time that show is going to be. So let's see. I have time. Let's see. Yeah, go fuck yourself. This is like, it's beyond ridiculous, man. They're all willing to basically kamikaze themselves in a war they can't win. They have no chance of winning that war. So whoops, not that. Well then, so let's see. Whoops, where's that? So yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that they're trying to kamikaze themselves in order to do what? I don't know. I don't know what they're expecting. Like, are they going to beat the Russians? Absolutely not. But at the same time, so we have Golden Monarch is cool, I mean, I like his coverage on the crypto stuff. That's, by the way, tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern. So I'm pretty sure that's the time. So America has changed sides in the middle of a war, says Churchill's biographer, launching an extorting attack on the Trump administration. So this is his closing words. Apparently they're worth hearing. So let's see.
When Winston Churchill spoke in the Munich debate, he used words that Europe should heed today as we fundamentally rebalance our world in the light of this startling American defection to the side of a dictator who has only ever, throughout his career, wished America ill. Churchill said that we needed, quote, a supreme recovery of moral health and martial vigour, so that we could rise again and take our stand for freedom as in the olden.
Total bullshit. I mean, this is like I'm baffled by the Europeans like trying to acting tough or something here. Like I'm totally baffled by this. So yeah, I already covered that. No, no problem, Jacqueline. So yeah, I wanted to look at this here. This is total bullshit here. I want you to debunk. Putin suddenly claims he's ready for a temporary truce with Ukraine right after Europe unites to expand his military and ramp up support for Zelensky. I don't think Putin's scared of that. I mean, again, the EU can't afford this. I mean, they're basically going to go into massive debt in order to do this. Meanwhile, MAGA is hilariously trying to credit Trump's two social posts about tariffs and sanctions for this shift. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to really challenge that. The U.S. imports less than $3 billion from Russia annually. It's a tiny 0.77% of what we import from Canada. Tariff would be a pinprick to Russia's economic health. Russia's one of the most Russia, one of the most heavily sanctioned nations in history, blah, blah. Trump is desperately trying to steal credit for Europe's actions after his own catastrophic failure on the world stage. That's total bullshit. This isn't a Trump victory. It's Putin reacting to real pressure from Europe. No, again, he's not afraid of the EU. I mean, again, they can't afford that. So they're going to go into massive debt in order to expand their military. And then, what's going to happen? They're going to go broke. Jacqueline says, "Oh yeah, it was the assassination of Alex Lebenko, where the ECRHR ordered Moscow to pay his widow £100,000 for his compensation." Yeah, I mean, I do remember that. Allegedly, the Russians did kill that guy, but wasn't it through like a massive poison or something? If I remember correctly, I do remember hearing about that. It was like through a massive poisoning or something. Again, so yeah, it's just ridiculous, guys. I mean, the UK has really lost their minds. They're going completely like psychopath on this. And what, they want World War III? I think they do. I mean, there's no reason for this unless they seriously doing a war posturing. And then they're trying to drag the United States into World War III because that's definitely what they're trying to do. Just like Israel is trying to drag U.S. into a larger war with Iran. So because Netanyahu like desperately wants to go to war with Iran, so in order to do it, he has to drag the U.S. into it. Same thing with Europe; they're trying to drag the U.S. into another world war because they are afraid of Russia for some reason, even though there's no reason for it. Because what's the Russians going to do? The Russians are going to invade a country which is going to directly lead to World War III. So none of this makes any sense. But it doesn't have to make any sense because they want a war, obviously. So yeah, so we're Jacqueline also says, I think Starmer has painted himself into a corner. Yeah, he's been so hawkish against Russia that now he has to double down on it because in the UK, obviously, they have they have different election systems and they've changed prime ministers at least twice in the last year. I remember some other guy was the prime minister, and then all of a sudden Starmer became prime minister. So they change prime ministers quite regularly in the UK. The one guy that hasn't won is Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, he hasn't been prime minister once. He's much more to the left, and somehow he hasn't become prime minister. Instead, it's like the same like centrist party or right wing party. Again, I'm kind of like ignorant of exactly the parties in the UK, but I think you guys might get my point there. I mean, the conservatives like never win, or the progressives never win. So, let's see. That's I already talked about that. Zelensky here, he's crying. Yeah, he's begging for more money here. It looks like. now he wants peace now. We continue working with our partner who seek peace just as we do. Remember last week when he was like begging for money in order to continue the fight? Now all of a sudden he wants peace. Next week there'll be a lot of work to do here in Europe with the US and Saudi Arabia. We're preparing a meeting to accelerate peace and strengthen the foundations of security. Last week he was like demanding money from the United States and he got kicked out of the White House. Now he wants peace. Today, intense work with President Trump's team has been ongoing at various levels, numerous calls. The topic is clear: peace as soon as possible, security as reliably as possible. Ukraine is fully committed to a constructive support. I thank everyone who's helping. So basically, now he wants peace, which is a good thing. I'm not, but at the same time, like, really, dude, last week you just said you just wanted money for war. Now it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I want peace now.
We
Like,
should
what?
play that video again of Jimmy Dore
So-
mocking Zelensky.
Oh yeah. So I'll read this real quick. Not AM or PM. I think there's two airings. Hold on, let me double check. I know there's one at 10 p.m., but I think Indy put it up for a second in the morning. So let me double check that, and then I'll read this article here. Hold on, let me go to the INN YouTube channel here, because I know I think there's two airings of the Oh my god! Hey, here we go. I got it. This is like. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah, there's two airings of Golden Monarchs. Of the recording Indy did. So there's one at 8:30 tomorrow. There's another one at 10 o'clock right after Pro Wrestling Talk tomorrow as well. So if you rather watch it at 8:30 in the morning, you can. Or if you rather wait till 10 o'clock at night, you can too. So it's two airings tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. So just letting you guys know if you're interested in, checking that out. So let me read this. So the Ukrainian people in general are against continuing this war, which is not surprising. So this is from the Dissident, who's so it says new poll show Ukrainians want to end the war. A new poll shows that regular Ukrainians are not supporting continuing the war indefinitely. Well, no shit. I mean, I'm not shocked by that. I mean, I didn't need a poll to tell me that, but I'm glad there is. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's desperately again. He goes back and forth. I'm the one that won peace the most. Then the next week he comes to the U.S. begging for money. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's doing too much cocaine to remember his actual position. The conventional wisdom in mainstream media is the Ukrainian population wants to continue the proxy war for years on end and hope to gaining territory back from Russia. Polls show that's not remotely the case. The most recent polls coming out of Ukraine from the British polling agency Survation show that they are more desperate to end the war than ever. The poll shows that 78% of Ukrainians support either considering negotiations in the future as soon as possible. 39% of respondents said that Ukraine should continue fighting, but should consider negotiations if military progress is stalled, which it has. The reality is, even with U.S. support, Ukraine never stood a chance in any military progress. Yep. A recent report, Time magazine noted that when Russia invaded Ukraine nearly 3 years ago, President Joe Biden set 3 objectives for U.S. response. Ukraine's victory was never among them because they can't win. And so the report spoke to Eric Green, a top official in Biden's National Security Council, who admitted that we are deliberately not talking about territorial parameters. So they just wanted Ukrainians to die in this war because it's a proxy war. As Time noted, that meant the U.S., in other words, made no promise to help Ukraine recover all the land Russia had occupied, and certainly not the vast territories in eastern Ukraine and the Crimean Peninsula, taken its initial invasion in 2014. Green admitted that in the White House view, doing so was beyond Ukraine's abilities, even with robust help from the West. Now that the U.S. is no longer providing weapons and intelligence to Ukraine, the prospect of winning any gains is virtually impossible. Therefore, these 39% of respondents will undoubtedly support negotiations once Ukraine is not able to make any gains. The other 39% of respondents do not want to continue the war whatsoever, answering that Ukraine should seek to negotiate an ending of the war as soon as possible. Only 16% of Ukrainians said that Ukraine should continue fighting until it wins the war, which is not going to happen. In other words, the position advanced by the Democrats and most of Europe on behalf of the Ukrainian people is only supported by 16% of the country. Ukrainians more open than ever to territorial concessions. The polls also showed more Ukrainians were supportive of territorial concessions to end the war than ever. According to the poll, 37% of respondents said that Ukraine should be open to losing territory as part of peace negotiations. Again, they're fine with it. I'm fine with it too. This is likely an underrepresentation of the real number, given that as the University of Ottawa professor Ivan Kapchikich butchered that, noted polls on the question of territorial concessions are often skewed due to social desirability bias, fear to express views contrary to undemocratic government and exclusion occupied and annexed regions of Ukraine. So yeah, they're scared of their governments. I'm surprised number is that high because Zelensky is clearly not a democratic leader. He's a dictator. The brutal draft. The reality is the Ukrainian population is growing more war weary by the day. This means that those who support continuing the war in Ukraine are actually supporting a brutal draft to force them to fight. As the Daily Mail noted in November last year, Ukraine is battling to find new recruits for his army as the 1,000th day of the war with Russia approaches, with torrent of videos emerging of civilians being brutally beaten, forced into vans by mobs of soldiers. Episodes of unsuspecting Ukrainian men being press gangs are becoming more frequent as the Russian forces continue to grind down defense lines in eastern Ukraine and seize more territory in Donetsk. The phenomenon's gotten worse with time. This year, there's been a slew of extremely disturbing videos showing Ukrainians being forced into a van and being sent to the front line to fight in an unwinnable proxy war. I've seen these videos. They basically beat the crap out of these guys, throw them in a van, and drive them towards the front lines. And they end up dead pretty quickly because they have no chance. Because they're untrained pretty much. This has mostly affected the working class in Ukraine. Of course it does. It always affects the working class. As the Ukrainian historian Marta Hershvenshvala noted recently on Useful Idiots podcast. Who is suffering the most is working class people. They don't have the money to pay a bribe to leave the country. They don't have the money to pay a bribe for an exemption from the military. My relatives who were serving in the army and now from the working class, they're truck drivers, plumbers, but my friends who belong to the middle class and upper middle class have found a way to survive this war. Some of them even sold their apartments to pay the bribe, to be exempt from military service, or to be allowed to leave the country. So, of course, the poor suffer. They get grabbed and they get killed. Meanwhile, the rich, they get to pay a bribe in order to be allowed to leave the country. In reality, those who are supporting this war are calling for a mass draft of the working class Ukrainians to go fight and die in a proxy war they have no chance of winning. Ukraine's proxy war supporters are likely to claim this is about democracy and freedom, but the outcome of their preferred policy is sadistic. So, yeah, if you're on Substack, follow the dissident. He does really good work. He writes good articles and stuff. So if you guys, are interested, have Substack, go follow him. So yeah, I mean that's that. What time frame are you using? I'm using East Coast time, EST. Jacqueline. So it's at 8:30 in the morning Eastern and 10 o'clock at night Eastern. So whichever airing works better for you. I mean, it's 8:30 a.m. Eastern and EST, Eastern Standard Time, or 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's the time zone and time frame I'm using. So yeah, so anything else? I think we've touched on pretty much everything at this point.
Do you want to go over that Emma Vigeland tweet?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 5 minutes, so we could probably wrap up with that. Well, I mean, as Donald Trump in his State of the Union address, or whatever we want to call that address, when he had a girl on there, the one that got hit in the head by the trans guy, and ended up being brain damaged because of that, because he got hit so hard. Anyway, I'm not. Did she delete the tweet, or is it still on? If she still have it up? Hold on, let me see, because she got like eviscerated. Because I saw that tweet. I was like, what the hell is she doing? Is
Yeah.
she out of her mind? The speech was on Tuesday, so I did see that tweet. So I was like, what the hell is she doing? Like, she just put ha 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 ha, and like she thought
Yeah.
it was funny. So I'm like,
What is
really?
she
Like, you
thinking?
think
I
this
mean,
shit was
like,
funny?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, she still has it up. I'll show you guys real quick before I wrap up. But she still, uh, so let's see. So here it is right there. This is from, I think the tweet is from the official a rapid response account of Trump 47's White House. So yeah, this is 19-year-old Peyton McNabb was severely injured by a man during a volleyball game, left with traumatic brain injury after he spiked the ball against her head. President Trump was proud to sign an executive order to keep men out of, I guess, women's sports. So let me see. Yeah, women's sports. And Emma Vigeland decided to tweet this out, just laughing about it. So she was eviscerated down
And
here. It's not funny to laugh at somebody
if you're
getting
gonna laugh
injured.
about it, at least explain what's so funny. You know, I mean, like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Usually you react with anger or presented with evidence that contradicts your previously held positions. Even stranger to see you respond with laughter, even when you're doing the same thing. Yeah, XY individuals, males, are generally considered to be physically stronger than females due to the presence of the Y chromosomes, which blah blah blah. Yeah, basically the science. Obviously, men are stronger than women, and able, to. That's why that makes them. They make them better at sports. So you don't think trans people exist? Nick said Emma exists to create ineffective and insufferable left in this country, the absolute queen of bad takes. So Nick has nailed it once again there. And Anya Parampil said, at least you're openly celebrating violence against women and being honest about your position here. Yeah, I mean, again, mystery solved. Emma Transmaid Vigeland is the founding member of the U.S. chapter of the Cult of the Female Penis. So there you go. Libs at TikTok says, "What's so funny? Seems like you're the one whose brain is irreparably injured. Delete your account, ghoul." So yeah, she thinks this is hilarious for some reason, and she doesn't explain either. She just went ha 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 and just moved on with her day. And she kept the tweet up too, which is amazing. Oh, that makes sense. At first, you thought you're laughing about a man assaulting a woman. So did somebody like translated by Google? I'm a soulless
And it's
bitch who
probably,
will
it looks
die
like it's a
alone.
shitlip account that was responding to Emma. That's
Uh-huh.
what's funny about it.
Oh, he has a Ukraine. He has
Yeah.
a Ukraine flag in the account. Well, yeah, she probably has a shitlib, and even she was disgusted. It's like, come on, man, that's not cool. The face of hate in America in 2025 is a Democratic face. So you get the point. It's just totally outrageous behavior from Emma Vigeland here. So yeah, I guess we can go now because it's almost 9. Jacqueline says, disturbing how many poor people in the working class are dying in the world, almost like the rich has got it together and decried that the world's overpopulated and decided to follow Thanos' example. I mean, yeah, I mean there was a like a Stonehenge thing in Georgia where the population had to stay below 500 million in order to have a sustainable Earth. What, for the wealthy, basically. If Emma wants to defend trans rights, she can pick a better hill to fight on. How many trans people are in professional sports? Well, not many, to be fair. Not many are actually in sports, but stories like this make it seems like there's a lot more. And Emma Bigland's laughing doesn't help either about it.
You know what's funny? If Donald Trump or if Trump saw that and he responded like, "This is Emma Vigeland, or I don't know if I pronounce her last name. It's a weird name, but anyways, I saw that tweet and she should be ashamed of herself. I mean, what is he thinking? That
Yeah, I mean, Trump, I don't, chances are he sees a tweet as low, but yeah, I mean, that'd be funny if he did. All right, so I'm gonna be wrapping up now this show. I want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you do the like and subscribe. I'm assuming that Indy has some sort of Jesse Jet thing up for tonight, or maybe not, because I didn't see it. So if he does, make sure you check that out. If not, tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern, you can check out the Golden Monarch interview, and again at 10 o'clock Eastern, right after Pro Wrestling Talk. Which reminds me, Pro Wrestling Talk is on tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern, and then right after that, 10 o'clock Eastern. Okay, that's fine. Problem is, we do have to wrap
And
up
also,
before 10.
I sent you a message last night. I don't know if you saw it, but I still haven't seen the latest Pro Wrestling Talk on Rumble. So
I don't know why. It should be there, but if not, I could probably upload it. Just have to download it and upload it to my channel or something. So yeah, Pro Wrestling Talk is tomorrow at 8 Eastern. At 10 Eastern, we have the second replaying of Indy's interview with Golden Monarch. Talking about crypto and stuff. So I'll probably check that out because I don't know that much about crypto. So it'll be interesting to. Yeah, it doesn't either, but at the same time, like, okay, the United States government is having a crypto exchange, or they're having a crypto backed money, so under Trump, so that's why we probably have to learn a little bit about it. But yeah, so I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow for Pro Wrestling Talk. If not, make sure you check out Angel in the Afternoon every Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll be back here